Happy Friday, everybody. Schuyler Callihan here on Between the Eers. And as always, I've got my guy, Christopher Hawk, here for our Best Bets segment. And yes, if you watched the show last week, you're probably laughing at us because the show is titled Best Bets. And, well, they were quite everything the opposite of that. So to revisit, if we really want to, revisit our picks from last week. I went 0-4 in the non-WVU bets. I had UTSA minus 1.5, TCU minus 20.5. I had the East Carolina, Michigan over at 51.5, and North Carolina, South Carolina over 64.5. But I did get the West Virginia first half plus 10, and I'm glad I did because I almost took the full game spread, and we all know how that went. But we'll get to that here in a second. But West Virginia was down 14-7.5. So that did cover. I go 1-4 in week one. You had TCU minus 20.5, Utah State plus 23.5, which was never a sweat. You were right on the money with Iowa can't score 24 really, but USC Nevada over 66.5, which hit. South Carolina plus 2.5 did not hit. And then again, you had West Virginia plus 20.5, and I just feel so sorry for you because you could have had an actually decent week if that hits 3-2. But James Franklin just had to punch that last one in there to screw you.
Hey, the quarterback carried like three Mountaineers in the end zone. That's on West Virginia. That's on West Virginia at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is, and really, I'm more sour about it because on the spread and over under prediction article I do every week on the site at Mountaineers Now, I picked West Virginia plus 20.5, and I picked the under, and that touchdown made me lose both sides of that. So I'm freaking ticked. I could be 2-0 right now, and now I'm 0-2, and everybody thinks I'm an idiot. So whatever, nothing
They're going
new.
to think you're an idiot regardless you hit those bets or not.
Exactly. That's okay though. But anyways, we're going to try this again, week two, and see if we fare any better. Now, obviously, with West Virginia playing an FCS opponent in Duquesne, these lines typically don't come out until late Friday night or maybe even Saturday morning. Sometimes they don't release a line until like an hour or two before kickoff with these games. So we unfortunately do not have anything to give you on West Virginia, but we will give you 5 bets. Again, if you want to fade our bets, it's probably highly recommended, but we warned you. So let's go ahead and get things started. I'm going to go with, I'll stick in the Big 12 first. Kansas, Illinois, under 57.5. I think this Kansas team is legit. Like, I think they can win 7-8 games, but this is a tough opponent in Illinois. They're stingy, tough defense. They're like kind of that pro style that Brett Bielema likes to run the clock, play physical football. I don't know how Kansas responds. I don't even know who wins this game, but I just think it's a very low scoring, ugly game. It takes a long time for both these offenses to get clicking. And Jalen Daniels didn't play last week. They sat him. I think they're going to play him this week, but who knows? Regardless of who's at quarterback, I still think it's a low scoring game. So I think Kansas, Illinois under 57.5 should be a safe bet.
I like that you had something on this game because I picked Illinois to cover for all the reasons you just said about Illinois being going to slow it down, beat them. I think they can keep that within a field goal because it's at 3.5. If it would go, the other way, plus 2.5, I would take Kansas. I think Kansas wins, but they don't cover.
Yeah, I think if this gets in a high scoring affair, you're probably not in a good situation with that Illinois play. But yeah, I think if that happens, you're in a good spot.
As long as they stay with within 3 points, we're good. We can do it.
Speaking of a 3-point spread, I'm going with one too. And typically, I hate playing games that are -3, -7, -10, like on the number. But I just feel good about this one, and that's Colorado against Nebraska. I'll lay the points with Colorado. Nebraska just did not impress me at all last week, and Colorado, they come out guns a blazing, and maybe they ride high into this week too with a little bit too much juice, feeling fat and sassy about themselves. But I just don't see Nebraska being able to hang with them offensively. They just don't have the firepower to do so. Sims had a multi-turnover game last week against Minnesota, and that team just took ever to get going on that side of the ball. So I got Shador Sanders, Deion Sanders, Travis Hunter putting up big numbers again in this one. Colorado, lay the 3 points. Don't even worry about it landing on the number.
I actually got something on this game, but I took the under in that game because
Okay.
Matt Rule's going to slow it down. 100%. He's a good defensive minded coach. That was week 1 for Colorado. You give Matt Rule some film. He's going to find a way to keep within this game. I would not trust the spread, but I do trust that they can keep it under 58 and a half points. It's not going to be a shootout like last week. So I think Matt Rule, if you go back and look at that first year at Baylor, there was a lot of 14-7, 20-13 games. So he's going to slow down, especially with running clock. Probably Matt Rule probably loves the running clock. So
Yeah,
I think they can keep the score down now. And remember, that's an old rivalry too. So
it is.
it might be a fist fight before it's all said and done.
I'm going to go a little out of order here just because I want to save what would be the next one as my best bet, I guess. But I'm going to go to somewhat my backyard in NC State, covering the 7.5 against Notre Dame. Look, Notre Dame hasn't played anybody these first 2 weeks, and they just kind of coasted through it. No real challenge. NC State went to UConn in week 1, which, I mean, you can say what you want about UConn. Yes, they're not a world beater either, but I mean, they're a much better opponent than anything Notre Dame's faced to this point. So they went on the road. They found a way to win. In this game, they actually, I don't know if it was the last time that they played Notre Dame at home, but I remember the slosh fest that they had during the hurricane in 2018, which was the week before, I think. West Virginia was supposed to get on there, and that game got canceled. But I think with perfect weather conditions expected, I would assume NC State can do enough to hang around. I trust Gibby's defense to dial up some pressures, get to Sam Hartman, and get him rattled for the first time as a quarterback of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So I don't think NC State wins this game, but I think they can definitely keep it within a score.
I forgot we were supposed to save our best bet. I don't know if I have a best bet this week. These are all shots in the dark. So I'll just keep.
They
I'll just
always
keep.
are. If we're being honest, they
keep,
always are.
I'm gonna look at this Tulane Mississippi game at Tulane, a touchdown, 7.5 points. They're giving Tulane. I like that Bayou region relevancy, so I'm gonna take Tulane at +7.5 to cover against Kiffin. It's going to be probably 55-52 with these two
Yeah.
teams, but I think Tulane can keep it within a touchdown, so I take Tulane.
I actually like Tulane, and I almost picked them on the game day show this week. Quick plug for that. If you haven't watched it yet, go to YouTube, our site, walk through game day show. We break down WVU and Duquesne as best as we can and then make our picks. I almost went with Tulane, but there's just too many athletes for Ole Miss, but I do think they keep it close. I'm going to go back to within the Big 12, and I'm going Texas Tech +6.5 again. In these kind of situations, I would probably want to get to 7, maybe see it get up to 7.5, but I don't really care about it here because I actually think Texas Tech stuns everybody and wins this game. Tyler Shuck playing against his former team in Oregon. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere in Lubbock. And, everyone looks at that first game against Wyoming and thinks, oh, no, Texas Tech, they tripped up and maybe they're not as good as we think. That was just a weird game, week 1. To play out in Laramie, that's Wyoming's Super Bowl for the year. So I don't put too much stock into that one. I think Texas Tech bounces back this week, gets their top 15 win against Oregon, and moves to 1-1. So I don't even think you really need the points here, but it might not be a bad idea to just go ahead and take them. I don't know if I'm quite there on the money line thing. I think you just played a little bit more conservatively and go with the points.
I'll take your money on that bet. I'll take one of that. I'm going to take Alabama at 7. It probably looks like a big.
I thought about that
at spread after Texas almost won last year, but it's at home. Alabama, they remember that game. I wouldn't be surprised if they won by 2 touchdowns. I'm never going to not take Alabama.
Yeah,
home,
I mean, yeah. Again, and Saban's like 28-2 against his former understudies, and it's like at some point you got to understand what it is. What it is. It is what it is.
They're going to put a hurt on Texas. I got a feeling. So I thought
Yeah.
if I had to rank, I probably should say that one for my last, because that's probably my best bet of the weekend is Alabama covering.
Well, my best bet of the weekend is going to be the Cy-Hawk Bowl. And I view this as Navy Army in September because this game has been under almost every single year. Last year it was 10-7. I don't think you can set this total low enough. Like, I really don't think you can. And Jed and I joked about it earlier in the week on In the Gun that I think you could put this thing at 23 and it still might go under. So I don't know. Iowa, they've never had a sexy offense. They're not going to be someone that's going to try and score 30 points a game. And we saw that last week, obviously, with your bet that they didn't even get to that number. And then with Iowa State, it's a tough spot. Rocco Becht, I mean, this is his first true test as a starting quarterback in college football. And we know Iowa on the defensive side, they're pretty stout. They keep things buttoned up. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this one. I'm going to go with the under Iowa State, which is at 36.5.
We'll go to future Big 12 after dark.
Oh,
Oklahoma State at Arizona State. Take the over 55.5. Oklahoma State's offense didn't look great, but week 2, Arizona State's not very good at it either. I expect a lot of points. Arizona State scored a lot of points. 58.5 is not a lot. It's not a lot in
no.
this game. So,
Well,
55.5. Sorry, not 58.
it,
55.5.
interesting that you brought that one up because it was actually one of the unders that I was looking at. And I started thinking the same thing. Like, we've seen this before where they come out and look like crap week 1, and then week 2, it's like they score 49 points.
Yeah.
So that's a stay away one for me. So there you have it. There's our 5 best bets of the week. You can fade us and then tell us how bad we are next week. And maybe by next week, you might just be so bad we say to hell with this thing. Shut her down.
Usually, we need a few weeks of some resumes. See what we're working with here before we start going.
We don't
best
just
bets.
just
Seems to
like
be more like
teams.
throwing darts at a board right now.
Just like these teams. I mean, we don't get a preseason just like they do, like they don't.
Right.
So I mean, we got to figure this stuff out. So just be patient with us. Give us some time. We'll be okay. We'll
If I
float
can
around
tell you,
500.
my Thursday night bets did not go well, so it's not. So the week 2 is not. If it's indication, I did well last Thursday and terrible during the weekend, so maybe it's a flip. Started off bad. Stupid Chiefs can't even win at home on ceremony night. Terrible. Terrible.
Oh, what a game that was. Kadarius Toney. Oh my gosh. 3 or 4
They
huge
made the
drops
West
in that
Virginia.
one.
They made last year's West Virginia receivers look good in that game.
They really did. My God. Chiefs, man. You need Travis Kelce back. You definitely need that man back. But that's our 5 best bets of the week. Again, we'll see how it plays out. But we've got all this stuff going for you this week. Obviously, we had some fun with the Walkthrough Game Day show, West Virginia Duquesne. That was Eugene and I. Chris did revisiting our preseason predictions after week 1. You can go back and see what we did there to see if we changed anything on WVU's schedule. We'll have the Mountaineers Now post-game show a little bit later, potentially. I'm not really sure what that's going to look like, but we'll try to get that one out as soon as possible. Regardless, we will have a post-game show tomorrow night recapping West Virginia and Duquesne. And then Sunday, as always, the morning after for kind of a more extended thoughts on the game. So that'll do it for us today. For Christopher Hall, I'm Schuyler Callihan. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Mountaineers Now. Give us a follow on X. I got it right this time. I keep saying Twitter. Give us a follow on X at Mountaineers Now. And until tomorrow, we'll see you guys then.